the Senate to order. I appreciate being here for my first University Senate meeting. Before we get started, I have one minor update for our agenda. Provost Croson is currently traveling and her flight has been delayed, so she may not make it onto the Zoom before her scheduled time on our agenda. She's hopeful she will still be able to join us at some point to deliver her report at either the University or Faculty Senate meeting. She will be in touch with Senate staff, and when she is able to join us, we will take her report as the next agenda item. So thank you for your flexibility. Our next item is Senator orientation. I'm sure I have a lot to learn during this part as well, so I look forward to it. I will turn it over to Erin Heath, our Director of University Senate Office, to present this topic.
Hi, thank you, Interim President Ettinger. So again, welcome everybody to the first University Senate meeting of the 23-24 academic year. And so we have just a little bit of information to share with you, and each of the staff members will introduce themselves as we get through the slides. And I know we have 35 minutes, but what we're hoping is that there should be about 10 to 15 minutes left for any questions that you may have. So I think we are waiting for the slides to load. Oh, okay. Just so you know, everybody's chat is on the screen.
Jessica, it says loading. We can't see the actual slides.
No, so let's see if I can share mine. Just one second. Okay.
Jessica, you will have to unshare. There we go. Okay.
So now we will go to insert format, view slideshow. Let me go back. Okay, and I'll share screen. Thank you for your patience on technology. It's always only as good as when it works. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, so again, thank you for the opportunity to provide us with the chance to share with you some information about University Senate governance in terms of roles and responsibilities, how it works, as well as what the staff do on behalf of University Senate governance. So I think a lot of you have likely seen this graphic before. This is the overview of our committee and Senate structure. So you can see that we have 5 different Senates from the P&A, Faculty, University Senate, which we're in right now, Civil Service Senate, and Student Senate. You can see within each of those the consultative committees, which are part of each of those Senates. If you look on the top left and the top right, you can see the different subcommittees for P&A Senate and Civil Service Senate. And then you can see under Faculty Senate, the committees that report up through them, the committees that report up through University Senate, and also the ones that report up through Student Senate. You will notice on the bottom, there are some committees which are in parentheses, and that is because since those groups work on issues related to multiple constituencies, they may have a dotted line to different Senates. So for example, you look at finance and planning that you see in parentheses under Faculty Senate. So they do have somewhat of a secondary line to them, but they primarily report up through the University Senate, since the decisions that are made there affect everybody at the institution. Okay, so also just to give you a little bit of introduction, you may see that we have a couple new faces with us. So we have our pictures on the bottom, and I'd like to especially call out Dina Barker, who started with us on September 6th, who works with the Civil Service Consultative Committee, EAD, Social Concerns, and a few others, as well as John Loff, who is currently on day 3, and he will be working primarily with the student portfolio. What we do in the University Senate office is that we advise both, administration as well as governance leaders on Senate practices and processes. We also provide that continuity from year to year. So knowing that some of you have been here for a while, some are newer, and some of you may rotate off after this year. And so we're the ones that ensure the consistency that goes as leadership changes. We also provide administrative and technical support, so meeting logistics, agendas, writing the minutes, managing Zoom such as this. And we also act as liaisons between committees and Senate. So as a team, we meet on a daily basis where we talk about the different work that's going on in each of the committees. And we really pride ourselves on that communication, as well as making those connections where if we hear things going on in multiple committees, we may try to connect those individuals and see about the possibility of working toward common goals. So with this, I will turn it over to Bobby Erickson, who serves as our Deputy Director. So Bobby, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. We are looking forward to a new year on the Senate. I've met many of you, and for those who I have not met, welcome. I'm going to talk a little bit today about how shared governance is effective at our university, and then also talk through some of the things that you'll likely see on Senate dockets this year. So you see there's 4 bullet points off to the right, and I'll walk through each of those. So the first one is to take legislative action on behalf of constituents. One of the main functions of the Senate is to review and vote on legislative action when it's introduced by either individual senators or by Senate committees. More often it's Senate committees, but we have had individual senators bring action forward before. We'll talk sort of more about what legislative action is in a later slide, but there are 3 main actions that can be taken in governance. There are a statement, a letter, and a resolution. And when these actions are scheduled to be presented to the Senate, then all the relevant materials for that action are in the docket when it gets sent out prior to the meeting. So we encourage you to take the time to understand the documents, ask clarifying questions before or on the Senate floor, and voice your opinion about those actions, because it's very important for the rest of the community to hear how each constituent is feeling. The second bullet point is to participate in meaningful policy reviews. So all administrative policies go through a comprehensive review process about every 6 years, and Board of Regents policies also go through regular reviews. And when these policy reviews happen, what happens is the policy owners will come and consult with relevant Senate committees on the changes. There's a policy matrix on the policy website that sort of shows which policies go to which committees. Some policies are also discussed broader in the Senate and at times are voted on by the Senate. So when you see a policy review scheduled on the docket, again, we recommend that you review all the materials and bring any questions you have about those policies to the Senate meeting. And just keep in mind that if you have a question about a policy, someone else probably has that question too. So we encourage you to speak up so that we all understand what the policies say and mean. The third bullet point is to provide input on initiatives at the senior administrative level. So oftentimes administrators will visit with the Senate to have a discussion or to ask for a vote to endorse a new idea or initiative or something that's being worked on in the administration. This is an important time for you as a senator to, again, review the docket, talk to your constituents and see how people in the community are feeling about these new initiatives, and then come to the Senate ready to provide your feedback on the floor. And again, it's always important to be well informed about what's on the docket, especially when a vote is coming up, and that will be clearly labeled in the packet. The fourth bullet point is to gather information and bring constituent concerns to the Senate. So as a senator, you are likely going to have more information about what's happening at the university than your colleagues that are not involved in shared governance. So it's important that you keep the people around you informed about what's happening, gather feedback from them, and then bring them to the Senate or to Senate committees to discuss and make sure voices are heard. Next slide. So now I'm going to shift to talk a little bit about how governance can facilitate change. So there are 5 sections here. I'll kind of walk through them quickly, but you'll see that the first 2 on the left-hand side are more informal. So the first one, information gathering, meet with interested parties and constituents on a specific issue. So we always encourage people to start off by just gathering information and having conversations, meet with committees, senates, key ex officio members, and get information about whatever issue is on your mind or that you want to make progress on. The second thing that we would recommend you do is discuss and consult with other committees or collaborate with other committees, and try to resolve any outstanding issues that way before moving to legislative action. Oftentimes that is how things get done in governance. It's not something that's public. It's something that we kind of figure out as a committee with the administration and work through. The other 3 are all of the legislative actions that shared governance can take. So you'll see the first one is a statement. And a statement describes a committee's position on a particular issue. Lots of times statements pertain to broader topics that are maybe national or global or related to higher ed from a bigger lens. And if you choose to make a statement, what generally happens is it just becomes a public document that goes on our legislative action tracker and on the Senate docket. And it's sort of a public statement that can be picked up and reused in other ways. A letter is a little bit different in that it outlines a position on an issue, sort of similar to a statement, but then it may ask for action to be taken or suggestions might be made in the letter. Lots of times letters are addressing local issues at the university. And letters obviously go to a specific person, most of the time office of the president or another senior leader that might be able to respond. The difference between a statement and a letter is that since a letter goes directly to somebody, usually a response comes back to the Senate, and that response is also made public, just like the letter is, and it is part of our permanent documentation. So the 5th one on the far right-hand side, the resolution, is action that actually asks for something to be done. And it is required that the administration respond to whatever a resolution says. So this is our most complex process in governance, and it takes, about 6 months to a year because we do really stress the importance of going through the consultation process when there's something like a resolution up for discussion. So consultation can include meeting with committees, administrators, other interested parties, maybe gathering information to support whatever is being asked for in the resolution. And after the resolution is drafted, it actually goes to the University Senate for discussion and a vote. And if the Senate passes it, then the resolution goes to the office of the president and gets published on our website as well. And like I said, there's an expectation that a response is given and made public. Next page, next slide. Okay, great. So I'm going to just briefly talk a little bit about our legislative action tracker. This is something new that we started last year, and it's just a way to sort of bring transparency and awareness to what's being done in shared governance. So as I mentioned, individuals can take legislative action or committees can take legislative action, but prior to last year, we didn't really have a place where you could go and see what was being done, and now we do. So you can go on our web page, and on the very front page, this is just a tiny little clip of it off to the right-hand side, but you can see we have legislative action. It's a document that's linked on our front page, and you can scroll through it and click on the links to see all the legislative action that's happening throughout the year. And as you can see, it gets updated each year. So you can always check anything out there if you want to know what's happening in governance. So with that, I will move over to Dina.
Hello, I'm Dina Barker. I'm on my 3rd week at the U, so it's nice to meet you and I'm excited to work with you all. Today I'm going to talk about meeting effectiveness. As we know, governance can be messy and complex, and that reasonable people may disagree in some of these meetings, and it's just really important to assume along. To ensure a good process, address all remarks through the chair, and then maintain focus on discussion topics. There are a lot of topics in these meetings, and it's really important that we maintain focus on those topics on the agenda. If there are other topics that want to be talked about, we can bring those up later, but maintaining the topics on the agenda is very important for meeting effectiveness. Next slide. And then on to meeting logistics. So all the meetings are added to your Google Calendar. There will be a Zoom link that is added closer to the meeting date. You may not see it further out because they tend to expire. The docket will also be linked once it's available. The docket will be emailed out 1 week before the meeting. Please make sure that you read the materials and prepare in advance because it is important to keep the meeting going. And then if you aren't able to attend, there is a process for sending an alternate. There's a spreadsheet that's linked in the docket email, and then make sure that you forward the docket to the alternate with all the information so they are ready to attend the meeting. Thank you. Next slide, and I'll pass it to Amber.
Hello, everyone. I'm Amber Bathke. I support the University and Faculty Senate, so you likely have heard my name or seen it in email anyway. So I will just follow up with the next couple slides here. So first, just a little bit of basic parliamentary procedure for Senate meetings. And I will also mention right here that we do have our Senate parliamentarian, Nancy Sims, who helps out when we get a little above and beyond this kind of basic stuff. But this is kind of your run-of-the-mill things that will be used in typically every meeting. So meeting agendas are dictated in the docket. So that just means that the times for discussion of each item are posted in the docket, and we stick pretty closely to those times, just so make sure we can get through everything. The chair facilitates the meeting. So in this case, and at this university, that is the president. So interim president editor will be presenting the items and introducing speakers, calling on senators to speak when appropriate, and just kind of like in the driver's seat for the meeting. The parliamentarian, like I said, will help make sure that rules and procedures are followed. Senate meetings follow procedures laid out in the Constitution, bylaws, and rules. Motions, votings, and other procedures follow Robert's Rules of Order, except when that differs from our governing documents. And in that case, the governing documents of this body take precedence. So just a little bit of basic stuff. Motions are typically listed in the docket ahead of time, so there's not the need for a motion or a second from the floor. A quorum of 50% plus one of those seated members of the body is required for any vote. And votes on motions are typically just require a simple majority to pass unless otherwise noted. Some exceptions to that are most commonly used are if there's any new business that requires a 2/3 majority to discuss immediately. If there are constitution or bylaws amendments that come up, which I think we will have in the faculty senate later this year, those have different voting thresholds as well, but typically it is just a simple majority. Next slide, please. So speaking of voting, we do just use the polling function in Zoom. So hopefully most of you have used that before, and it works fairly well, we think. Please do come prepared to vote. So knowing what any votes are going to be and knowing what your opinion is on them ahead of time is really important, especially when we get into some of those higher voting thresholds where if we don't have enough people who are voting, who are casting a vote, it might have to be held over to another meeting. So Zoom protocols, you probably have noticed that you are muted and your video is off by default. When we get into the time when there's questions and discussion, you'll use the raise hand function in Zoom, and at that time, the chair will call on you and Senate staff will unmute you and ask to turn on your video. I didn't mention before that the speaking time limit is 2 minutes per person per topic, until we've cycled through everyone who's wanted to talk, and then people can have a second chance if there's time. And our parliamentarian, our Senate clerk, Ned Patterson, watches those times and will enforce them. So we'll give you a warning when you're 30 seconds out. To raise a point of order, you can send me a chat. That doesn't come up too often, but it does. If it does, that's how you can do that. Next slide, and I think I pass it on to Jeanette.
Thank you, Amber. Hi, everybody. My name is Jeanette Poole, and I am a Senate Office Associate as well. I support the P&A Senate and the P&A Consultative Committee, along with a number of other committees. And I am Erin Heath's assistant for the University Awards and Honors portfolio. On this slide that you have in front of you is a really nice set of resources that you can look at today, save for later, maybe bookmark it. On this slide is a list of resources that were referred to in today's presentation, along with other resources that you might find useful in your term as a university senator. You may find many of these resources as well as additional information on our website, which is the letter U, senate@umn.edu. This might be a good email to bookmark to keep handy because everything's so nicely organized in one spot. The overview materials include documents that will assist you in your role as a university senator, frequently asked questions, your responsibilities as a senator, a little bit of history about the Senate, and of course, a handy university governance acronyms cheat sheet. Other categories include suggested best practices and protocols. These cover questions you might have about what to do while you are actually in a Senate meeting, as well as your role as a university senator outside of Senate meetings. For example, how to use governance listservs, how to connect and communicate with your unit or your department constituents on Senate meetings, that kind of thing. And then next we have policy review resources. And as Bobby mentioned earlier, a significant part of university Senate work is either responding to proposed changes to existing policy or taking part in the consultation on new policies that the university is considering implementing. The University Policy Library, which is number 17 on the list, is the website where you can access all university administrative policies in one spot. And then the very last piece of information, 2023-24 information, is obviously specific to this academic year. You'll see that there's a link to the schedule for the Board of Regents meetings. And the reason the Senate office included that link is because it's recommended that if and when you can, you attend the meetings or tune into them online, as many of the issues that are top of mind for University Senate members are also being considered by the Board of Regents. There's definitely a lot of overlap there. So that's it for me. Thank you everyone for the time, and I will hand it back to Erin.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. Can someone tell me how much time that we have left before the next agenda item?
We're at 20 minutes, Erin.
Okay, so that means we have about 15 minutes if there are any questions. Okay. So if you do have any questions, our contact information is in the slide deck, or Mine is heath126@umn.edu, and we're happy to provide any assistance or answer any questions you may have. And with that, I know we're a little bit early, but I'll turn it back over to Interim President Ettinger.
Thank you so much, Erin. Item number 3 concerns administrative responses to the University Senate actions, and these are presented for information only. Item number 4 is a list of recent faculty, staff, and student deaths that have been sent for announcement to the Senate. I invite everyone to observe a moment of silence while I read the names. In the category of faculty or staff, Catherine Asher, Joseph Behrens, Jack Brown, Komwa Choi, Janice Edmondson, Richard Gardson, Jane Hacker, Terry Hall, Harley Hankey, Susan Hartley, Tom Johnson, Catherine Kelly, Eric Klinger, Debbie Lazoe, Timothy McCluskey, Jack Mobius, Shirley Nordrum, Annette Obregon, Mary Sampson, Robert Thorne Jr. And then the following students: Karen Delgado Villanueva, Madeline Kingsbury, Mackenzie Muraski, Sihom Odawa, Adam Parno. Our next item is the approval of minutes from the University Senate meeting of April 27th, 2023. Amber, please initiate the poll.
Couple more seconds if you wish to vote. There being 142 ayes, 0 nays, and 12 abstentions, that motion carries.
Thank you. It's a pretty fast and slick system. Maybe we should use that elsewhere in our society. It's the next item of business is my report. It's an honor to be able to talk with such a broad cross-section of faculty, students, and staff, and appreciate your engagement in this process. Throughout my career, I've had the chance to lead complex organizations, but the model of shared governance is admittedly something new for me. I truly appreciate the opportunity for consultation and collaboration with faculty, student, and staff leaders, and I look forward to our engagement over the course of the year. In the 3.5 months since I took the office of interim president, I've had a chance to visit each of our campuses and talk with numerous stakeholders. I came into this role with a great appreciation for the U of M, but now I more fully understand how important work on all our campuses improves the lives of people in Minnesota and beyond. Despite our strengths in so many areas, we still have work to do to advance the U of M in new ways. So I'd like to talk for a few minutes about our priorities for the near future. I've had a chance to discuss and share with the regents my leadership team's goals and priorities for the upcoming year. In the time since the July Regents Retreat, those efforts have started to take shape. The financial health of our system is, of course, a top priority. Times are changing and higher education isn't immune to the challenges of the economy. I support the work of the Peak Initiative to enhance delivery of our administrative services. I am also collaborating with our chancellors to analyze our campus-by-campus financial sustainability and how it's tied to enrollment and their overall strategic positioning. There are a number of additional items that the senior leadership team will closely oversee, and we've tried to break them down into 3 broad action categories: sustain, restore, and advance. I'll quickly highlight a few examples of this work, but it's not an exhaustive list. In the sustain category, I've understood since the very beginning that maintaining momentum on Impact 2025 is critical. There are many examples of the university's collective achievements to date and a clear direction on where we can have the greatest impact. We will continue listening to our tribal communities to address our shared past and future needs. My first meeting with tribal leaders will occur in late October with the assistance of Senior Advisor Karen Diver. We are also aiming to provide an initial response to the items raised in the Truth Report by early next calendar year. We will continue to work to fulfill the university's commitment to environmental sustainability, student mental health initiatives, and promoting academic freedom. In efforts to restore, we've taken a major step in the area of public outreach with the hiring of Melissa Lopez Franzen as our new Executive Director of Government and Community Relations. Melissa will lead advocacy efforts for the entire University of Minnesota system at the Capitol in St. Paul, in Washington, D.C., and among our many community partners and neighbors throughout Minnesota. She started a month ago and has really hit the ground running. We've also committed to doing a better job of telling our story, actually the countless stories of incredible work that are being done on our campuses to Minnesotans and beyond. In partnership with University Relations, these efforts feature a new marketing campaign that launched early last week. It's the first one we've done in 3 years. And it's called Dear Minnesota, and it's essentially a love letter to our state, reminding Minnesotans that we've never stopped working to make their lives better. It includes TV spots, digital ads, and stories illustrating the breadth of our outreach, education, and research efforts. We've received great early feedback on these stories, and we're happy that they feature students and faculty and feature all 5 of our campuses. These public outreach efforts are also being elevated to the Board of Regents level with the establishment of a new special committee on university relations, which met for the first time at this month's board meeting. Finally, in the advanced category, we will, among other things, closely monitor and foster relationships through the collective bargaining process with graduate students and with the faculty represented by the UEA. We will continue to navigate the recent U.S. Supreme Court decision on admissions, including its likely effect on financial aid. And we will refine the system's strategic agenda on DEI. Vice President Ramirez Fernandez will be reporting on this important work at the October Board of Regents meeting. Again, this was not intended to be an exhaustive list, but I hope it provides you with a sense of where the senior leadership team and I will be focusing our time and attention in the year ahead. I'd like to spend a few minutes discussing the health sciences area, which is clearly one of the priorities that needs to be addressed during the upcoming year. We were grateful for the announcement that Governor Walz was forming a task force to help determine the future of our health sciences program at the university. And we are excited to have university representation in this group as announced last week. We appreciate the appointments of Dr. Penny Wheeler, who is the retired CEO of Allina Health and a member of the university's Board of Regents, Dr. Jacob Toller, our Vice President for Clinical Affairs and Dean of the Medical School, and Dean Connie Delaney of the University of Minnesota School of Nursing. As for their timeline, a written summary of recommendations is due to the governor in January of 2024, and we look forward to this work advancing over the next few months. Concurrently, there are critical decisions to be made regarding our affiliation with Fairview, and time is obviously of the essence, with a decision due at the end of this year on renewing the contract with Fairview Health Services beyond 2026. And I can tell you there's actually a meeting today of our leadership and the Fairview leadership on these ongoing discussions. And we'll keep you informed as these discussions are occurring. I'd also like to briefly address safety on our campuses. Ensuring the safety of our communities continues to be a top priority for our team, and we are unwavering in our commitment to the safety of every U of M student, staff, faculty member, and visitor. Over the summer, we implemented a wide range of safety strategies and tactics for our students, faculty, and staff returning to our 5 campuses this fall. To prepare for the increased activity on and around the Twin Cities campus, the University of Minnesota Police Department has allocated overtime to support the Minneapolis Police Department in the Dinkytown area. In addition, the State Patrol, Hennepin County Sheriff, and Metro Transit Police are providing extra patrols on and near campus as needed. We continue to work with Metro Transit, which has implemented their own safety plan to make transit feel safer and more welcoming. We launched a new Safe Campus website with quick access to important safety resources and information. This site prominently features safety news and announcements. You know, as a public university, we have to balance public access to our buildings with the safety of students and employees. And we continue to examine access to our campus spaces. Buildings with clear public access needs like museums, libraries, and venues such as our student union will remain open to the public. Around 95 buildings on the Twin Cities campus are now accessible only with a U-card, and we will continue to review and assess our building access. We have also begun to replace outdated security cameras and to align building access equipment across all of our campuses for more efficient building security. We were gratified to receive a one-time allocation of $8 million over 2 years in state funding to help us accelerate this work. We've also piloted turnstiles now in Pioneer Hall to help ensure that only those who have permission to do so can enter that building. I'd like to spend a minute to talk about the data incident that's been in the news and that has had effect on many of you. In July, we learned that an individual claimed to have posted on the internet certain information from a university database. We immediately began an investigation, engaging external forensic professionals in an effort to assess the validity of these claims. The investigation revealed that the person likely gained unauthorized access to a university database in 2021. The incident did not result in the university losing access to university data, nor did it disrupt university operations, but based on the university's investigation, the incident potentially affected individuals who have submitted information as a prospective student or attended the university as a student, worked at the university as an employee, or participated in university programs between 1989 and August of 2021. Last Thursday, the university began sending notifications to individuals who may have been affected. These emails provide more detail about the steps being taken in response to this incident. We are offering individuals the ability to enroll in 12 months of free identity monitoring services that are provided through a third-party contractor that specializes in these types of incidents. Since 2021, the university has taken steps to bolster its overall security system, including increasing data access control measures, reducing the number of people authorized to access sensitive information, expanding multi-factor authentication and other security measures, and increasing monitoring for suspicious activities. For those of you whose data has been involved or may have been involved, we ask for your patience through the email notification process. We take the security of information very seriously, and we regret any worry or inconvenience that the incident may have caused you. And we're working hard to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. Turning to a few additional updates. Last spring, this Senate endorsed the resolution on workforce reinvestment, rebuilding a better you for employees. The provost, along with Senior Vice President Franz and Vice President Horstman, have charged a group to provide a comprehensive response to the University Senate-endorsed resolution on workforce reinvestment. That group, led by co-chairs Mary Roman Kuhl, who is the Senior Director of OHR Total Rewards, and Beth Lewis, our Vice Provost for Faculty and Academic Affairs, has had their initial meeting and are making progress toward having a draft for review later this fall. We anticipate an official response being reported to the Senate during the spring 2024 semester. Earlier this month, we launched the search for the next University of Minnesota Duluth Chancellor. My thanks to Chancellor Lori Carroll from the Rochester campus and Lisa Irwin, UMD's Vice Chancellor of Student Life and Dean of Students, who have agreed to serve as co-chairs of the search committee. We are working now to finalize the search committee roster. That committee will work with AGB Search to finalize the position profile, hold listening sessions, and then begin recruiting. I will be attending the listening sessions that are held in Duluth in early November. We anticipate holding interviews and making an offer late winter or early spring. Last spring, the President's office announced the next phase of the ongoing work related to faculty misconduct. I'm happy to report that 2 faculty have agreed to serve as co-chairs of the implementation phase. They are Ned Patterson from the College of Veterinary Medicine on the Twin Cities campus and Lynn Shu from the Labovitz School of Business and Economics on the Duluth campus. We will be opening up a nomination process for additional members to this task force soon. That concludes my report, so we can turn to any questions for my office. None have been submitted in advance, but we should have time for a couple questions if there are any. I'm not hearing any questions. Okay, great. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, good afternoon, Interim President Ettinger. I just want to ask, you're a few months in this role. What's your kind of biggest takeaway, or maybe the thing that has most surprised you about the university?
I mean, there's aspects of the university that remind me of my prior life in terms of, I mean, all institutions deal with budgets. All institutions have an amazing array of personnel things that come up. Obviously, as I mentioned at the outset, the consultative nature and shared governance nature was new to me, but it's honestly been gratifying to be able to be part of that process. It's also been interesting, just the whole public meeting aspect of, all of our Board of Regent meetings, that the notion that, hey, all of our emails and texts and so forth could tomorrow be on the front page of the Star Tribune is something a little different as well. I also had the great opportunity to kind of start a month ahead of time, if you will. I was named in early May with an official start in June, and took an office here in Morrill Hall to start meeting with people and learning what was going on at the university. And it's just been fun to see, from a right after graduation, a campus that was pretty quiet to the summer where, okay, orientation tours and so forth, to boom, 3 or 4 weeks ago when Welcome Week hits, and had the chance to share in that same kind of experience at Crookston and at Morris and Duluth, and we're headed to the Rochester campus next week as well. So it's been gratifying to meet so many great people here. One of the fun events, honestly, was the groundbreaking at Fraser Hall just this week. It was great to see bipartisan legislative support there, lots of media, lots of excited folks, and for a good reason. I mean, that new facility here on the Twin Cities campus will service over 130 different majors. So that's just terrific. And we look forward to investments that will have equal impacts on our other campuses as well. Yes, Shireen.
Yes, hi, President Ettinger. Thank you for your report and welcome to everybody. I'm Shireen Sabat. I'm with the Interdisciplinary Center for the Study of Global Change here at the U. And mine's just a comment about the workforce reinvestment. I'm so glad to hear that that was on your report and that work is underway. Because I've been here at the U for about 18 years now in different capacities, and I got the opportunity to serve on the President's Award for Outstanding Service this past academic year. So I got a chance to really see how many wonderful employees there are at the university that really do need to be recognized. And we're talking about applicants who've been here for 40 plus years. And it was really extraordinary to see. You probably remember the event at the Bell Museum. It was lovely, but I feel that there truly should be more recognition of employee service and in all the categories, P&A, civil service and bargaining unit, faculty, students, everybody across the board. We, as a university, function best as a collaborative unit, and we all combine to that effort. So I think individual recognition is extremely important. So thank you for having that on the agenda, and hope that we can, as a Senate board, also consult with the HR to, see that come to fruition. So thank you.
I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Probably should go ahead and move on, unless there's one last question, maybe move on to the next report. Excited to hear that Provost Rachel Croson has arrived, and so she can deliver on her report as planned at this time.
Thank you, Interim President Ettinger. I apologize for the lack of video. I'm in a cab at the moment, but hopefully everyone can hear me.
It's working well.
Great, super. So I wanted to start where maybe Shireen left off on the Workforce Reinvestment Task Force. It's been, I think, a real great set of people who were working on it together. And I'm especially grateful for Colleen Manchester Flaherty, who of course was one of the authors of the report, to be a consultant to that committee in helping them come up with the appropriate responses. So that's been really a good start, and we look forward to hearing what they recommend. I wanted to mention our 4 new deans that are starting this year. Of course, the Dean of CSOM of the Carlson School, Jamie Prankert, came to us as Associate Dean from Indiana. We also have the new Dean of Design, Dean Prasad Brodekar, who had been a full professor at Arizona State and is coming to us from Google, where he was the head of the user experience research unit there. We have a new Dean of the College of Biological Sciences, Sarah DeWalt, who's coming to us from Clemson, where she was the chair of the Biological Sciences Department. And then finally, the new Dean of the School of Public Health, Belinda Pettigrew, is coming to us from Yale, where she served as Senior Associate Dean and for a pretty substantial time as Interim Dean as well. We're also welcoming 3 new Vice Provosts this year. We have a new Vice Provost for Global Partnerships and Strategy, Harvey Charles. Harvey had been in the same role at SUNY Albany, and we're delighted that he's joining us. We have a new Vice Provost for Faculty and Academic Affairs, Beth Lewis. Many of you will know Beth. She was the chair of kinesiology, and she has served on the FCC just last year. And then finally, we have a new Vice Provost for Public Engagement, Lori Van Egren, who's coming to us from Michigan State, where she served in that role as interim for about 2 years, and we're delighted to have her. Finally, we have 2 interim deans this year with searches planned. Bill McGovern is serving as the interim dean of the law school for the year, and Ann Waltner is serving as interim dean for College of Liberal Arts. So I'm sure you all will be meeting these new leaders, but I'm delighted to let you know about the successful searches, and I'm grateful to everybody who served on the search committees. One of the biggest issues that we're working through in my team, in my office, is the new Supreme Court decision. Some of you may have heard of some of the changes that we're making. We provided a report to the Board of Regents in September, and that I think is going well on the undergraduate side. For professional admissions and PhD admissions, of course, the admissions process is much more decentralized. And so we are asking faculty members who might be serving on admissions committees or who might be reviewing subsets of applications and giving input to admissions committees to acknowledge the information that went out about the appropriate use of race in admissions, and we have training scheduled for grad deans for associate deans for graduate studies, DGSs, the staff that handle graduate admissions, and chairs of admissions committees. So please be responsive to those requests. And of course, if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me or to Scott Lanyon, the Dean of the Graduate School. Many of you will remember that last March, our graduate assistants voted to unionize. we are beginning the process of the negotiation with the newly formed union. There is a website where you can look and see when the meetings are scheduled and all of those details. But again, that's, I think, progressing well. Our OHR is taking the lead. Of course, they have a lot of experience with union negotiations from the very. Scott Lanyon and I are pretty deeply involved in reviewing the proposals. Two final comments that are pretty squarely in the faculty governance side. So we're continuing with our revision of the core curriculum. We are optimistic that we're going to have a proposal to come to Faculty Senate late fall, maybe early spring. And again, I'm grateful to everybody who has helped to make that successful. And then finally, I formed last an academic calendar unit to make recommendation changes to the academic calendar. Group comes to consensus, visiting SCEP and FCC this fall with their recommendations, and that will move its way through university and faculty governance as well. So with that, I'll stop, and I'm happy to take questions.
The floor is open for questions for the provost. We'll keep our eyes peeled for him, Rachel, since it's probably hard to see from the cab. Yes, you have one from Jeremiah. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Can you hear me clearly or not?
It's a little faint.
All right, this probably will be better.
Yes, that's much better.
I was wondering if there's any information in general, and maybe in sort of a semester timescale, what is envisioned in terms of reaching an endpoint on the union negotiation?
That's a great question, Jeremiah, and I don't have a great answer to it. I know that first contracts often take a long time, a year or more. But I know that this particular union, which has unionized graduate assistants at MIT and Chicago and many other places, has tended to get to first agreements maybe more quickly than the average. So certainly not this fall, possibly this spring, maybe more likely summer or next fall. But that's a pretty diffuse estimate.
Are there any other questions for the provost? It appears not. Thank you very much for persevering, Rachel. Yes. Our next item is the SCC report. Professor B, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ettinger. Hello, everyone. My name is Mark B. I'm a professor in the College of Biological Sciences on the Twin Cities campus. I currently serve as the elected chair of the Faculty Consultative Committee, and in this role, I also serve as chair of the Senate Consultative Committee. Jen Goodnow from the Division of Science and Mathematics on the Morris campus is the current vice chair of both of these committees. And just by way of reminder, the Senate Consultative Committee, or SCC, is charged to serve as a consulting body to the university president and to act as the executive committee of the university senate. And in these roles, the SCC represents students, civil service staff, academic professionals, and faculty, and it's made up of members from all four of these groups. So it's still relatively early in the semester, so this report maybe necessarily looks more forward than backward, but I want to first give you an update on some SCC-related actions that took place over the summer before looking ahead to this next year. So over this past summer, several of us in leadership positions in the Faculty Senate, the Civil Service Senate, and the PNA Senate were invited to participate in a series of meetings organized by the administration with a fairly large and diverse group of university stakeholders. And the purpose of these meetings was for the administration to gather a broad range of input as it developed the university's next capital and operating budget proposals to the state. And attendees were asked to propose ideas for various budget proposals. And as part of that consultation process, those of us from the University Senate shared a proposal with the administration outlining an idea for a supplemental budget request meant to address issues of employee compensation. As you may recall, compensation is one of the key issues raised in the University Senate resolution on workforce reinvestment. It was passed back in April. We've heard about that already. If you're new to the Senate or you're unfamiliar with that resolution, it was linked as item 3 in today's Senate agenda. So I'd encourage you to go read that if you haven't already. I also want to direct your attention to item number 13 on today's agenda, which will be presented for information later in the meeting. There in today's document materials, you'll find a link to the proposal that we submitted to the administration. I just encourage all of you to read through it whenever you can find a chance, and feel free to share it with your colleagues. Since the start of the semester, the SCC has met once, and it was a meeting dedicated mostly to reviewing proposed changes to a couple of policies. One of these related to a comprehensive review of the use policy on responsible conduct of research education. And the second was the Board of Regents policy on equity, diversity, equal opportunity, and affirmative action. The changes being proposed to this second policy are needed in response to the Supreme Court's recent decisions banning affirmative action in college admissions, and the proposed changes will be presented for information later in today's meeting. Turning now to looking ahead, I can provide just maybe a quick update related to the workforce reinvestment resolution. As both President Ettinger and Provost Croson had mentioned, the administration is working to develop its formal response to the resolution. And I think Provost mentioned some of this as well. I just want to make the Senate aware that the administration has appointed an advisory group that the Provost mentioned. This advisory group includes the past SCC chair, Colleen Flaherty Manchester, as well as the most recent past chair of the P&A Consultative Committee, Adolfo Carrillo Cabello, and a current member of the Civil Service Senate, Charles Rank. And we'll be inviting members of this group to periodically share their thoughts on how the process is going. And I just wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of the Senate and the SCC to thank these three senators for stepping up to serve in this capacity. As you have no doubt heard, the Board of Regents will be searching for the university's 18th president this year. The board will be approving and charging a presidential search advisory committee at its upcoming October 13th meeting. On Monday of this week, the board announced the dates for when this search advisory committee will hold several planned listening sessions across all 5 system campuses. Those are happening between Tuesday, October 17th and Tuesday, October 24th. You can find this information on the presidential search website. Keep an eye out for emails announcing specific dates, times, and locations. I think this will be a really important opportunity for the university community to provide input to the search advisory committee on the characteristics we'd like to see in a new president. And I would encourage all senators who can attend a listening session to please do so, to share your views with that committee. Please encourage your colleagues and friends to attend as well. Now, per university policy, it's expected that the SCC will also meet with members of the Presidential Search Advisory Committee to provide our input on the search. So please also feel free to reach out to me or other members of the SCC anytime to share your thoughts with us. If you're unable to attend a listening session, we'll do our best to bring those thoughts forward. The SCC will also be attending a working luncheon with regents as part of their October board meeting, and I suspect selecting a new president will be a topic that may come up at that event as well. For now, I look forward to reporting back to you about SCC's upcoming meetings with the Presidential Search Advisory Committee and the Board of Regents at a future University Senate meeting. And with that, I will conclude the SCC Chair's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor B. Item 11 concerns administrative policy on safety for minors and has been presented for information. Item 12 concerns the Board of Regents policy on equity, diversity, equal opportunity, and affirmative action, and is also presented for information. Item 13 concerns a letter that was sent to me as president and the budget 6 from Senate leadership and is also being presented for information. Item 14 concerns old business. Not aware of any old business for the University Senate. Item 15 concerns new business for the University Senate. Please note that any new business will be referred to committee unless special permission is granted by 2/3 of those voting and present. Is there any new business? Hearing none, is there a motion for adjournment? I think we have a motion from Jen for adjournment.
So moved.
Yeah, very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Great, thank you, Scott. Amber, please initiate the poll. The motion has been approved. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Look forward to seeing you next time. Good afternoon. We'll go ahead and call the Faculty Senate to order. Our first item, our next item concerns administrative responses to the Faculty Senate actions and is presented for information purposes. There are none pending. Item number 3 is approval of the minutes from the Faculty Senate meeting of April 27th, 2023. Amber, would you please initiate the poll?
Few more seconds if you wish to vote. There being 69 ayes, 0 nays, and 9 abstentions, that motion carries.
Thank you for that report. Our next item is the FCC report. Professor Mark B., please go ahead.
Thank you, President Ettinger. Hello, everybody, again. My name is Mark B. Again, I'm a professor in the College of Biological Sciences here on the Twin Cities campus. And I am serving this year as the elected chair of the Faculty Consultative Committee, known as the FCC, and Jen Goodnow, again from Morris, is this year's vice chair. Now, just by way of some quick background, the FCC currently consists of 21 faculty members who are charged to be a consulting body to the president, as well as the steering and executive committees of the Faculty Senate. One of the primary duties of the FCC is to discuss with the administration issues of concern to the faculty. And there are a number of touch points between the FCC and the administration to facilitate that type of communication. I just want to take this opportunity to invite all of you to reach out to me anytime to discuss particularly sort of campus-wide or system-wide issues of concern that you're hearing about from your faculty colleagues that might need to be brought forth to the administration. I see bringing those issues forward as one of my main jobs as FCC chair. You can find my contact information through the University Senate website, or just Google my name. If you Google enough, you'll also find my social security number and birth date and my credit card numbers and passwords. And so I'm out there. As a continuation of sort of new practices that were started last year, we'll be continuing the Q&A session for the FCC chair as a regular agenda item at Faculty Senate meetings. If I don't have answers to your questions, I'll do my best to get them and circle back to you. I want to turn now to give you an update on what the FCC has been up to so far this year. In late August, the FCC held its annual retreat, and the theme of this year's retreat was one of recentering faculty voices. And when I say faculty here, I do so in the broadest sense possible to include regular faculty, term faculty, and P&A employees with primary responsibility for teaching. So I want to share with you 3 specific topics under this theme that the FCC took up at the retreat. The first, which I'll just mention very briefly, relates to efforts to ensure faculty voices are heard during the upcoming presidential search. As a result of discussions at the retreat, the FCC put forward several formal nominations of faculty members from across the system that the committee thought should be considered to serve on the Search Advisory Committee. The FCC also sent a letter to the Board of Regents, which we advocated for a strong faculty voice on the Search Advisory Committee, in which we sort of described the general qualities we would ideally want to see collectively among any group of faculty appointed to that committee. You can find a copy of our letter to the board on the Legislative Action Tracker on the University Senate website, and this letter will be included for information in the docket for our next Faculty Senate meeting. The second topic the FCC took up at its retreat was that of making faculty voices heard at the state legislature. So as a reminder to this body, the President's office currently sponsors 2 faculty members who serve as liaisons to the legislature. Both liaisons also serve as ex officio members of the FCC. Our current faculty legislative liaisons are Donna Spanis-Martin from our Medical Laboratory Sciences program and Rob Blair from the College of Food, Agriculture, and Natural Resource Sciences. So our 2 faculty legislative liaisons are charged to convey faculty perspectives to legislators, to inform faculty about significant developments at the legislature that impact the university, and then to solicit involvement of individual faculty members in the legislative process whenever they think it's appropriate to do so. Now, they are also charged to develop legislative and advocacy priorities with, and I'm quoting here from their charge, direction and input from the FCC. And so developing that direction and input was a topic taken up by the FCC at its retreat. And this is something we'll be continuing to work on this year, especially as the next legislative session starts heating up. The third and final topic from the FCC retreat that I want to tell you about today involves the committee's work on what will be a forthcoming report by the FCC on the competitiveness of faculty compensation. So over the past couple of years, I think as many of you already know, compensation has risen to the top of concerns we've been hearing about through various forums organized by past FCC chairs Ned Patterson and Colleen Flaherty Manchester. And as a reminder, one of the products that come out of those forums was the Workforce Reinvestment Resolution passed by the University Senate in April. And the very first principle outlined in the resolution is a call for the institution to, quote, provide livable, equitable, and competitive pay. So over the last 6 months or so, the FCC has been working on a report and an analysis of how faculty compensation at the U compares with compensation for faculty at peer institutions. So working toward finalizing this report was a major goal of the FCC retreat. My expectation is that this report will be released hopefully sometime later this semester. So please keep an eye out for that. In conclusion, I've been asked to share the results of the recent electronic vote for our new Senate officers. And this is, I guess, already old news at this point in the meeting, but I'm happy to report that Rachna Shah from the Carlson School of Management is our new Senate Vice Chair. Ned Patterson from the College of Veterinary Medicine is our new Senate Clerk, and Nancy Sims from University Libraries is our new Senate Parliamentarian. And so I just want to thank Rachna, Ned, and Nancy for stepping up to serve in these important roles. And with that, I will conclude the FCC Chair's report.
Thank you, Mark. As Mark mentioned in his report, we now have a question and answer session, and the floor is open for such questions. They're confident you have it all wired, Mark.
I don't see any questions, so thanks.
Very good. Our next item is the approval of revisions to 3 educational policies. You've all seen these materials. Is there any discussion on any of these policies? Yes, Sarah, please go ahead.
There we go. Now I got myself unmuted. I apologize in advance for the lack of video, but my wireless has been a little touchy today, so I just wanted to guarantee that I won't cut out. But I am hoping that when it comes to the policy on AI and technologies in the classroom, under the section that deals with academic integrity, that we could also include in there in the list automatic translators, which do come into play in every language class on campus, on all of our campuses, and is an increasing problem as they get more and more refined, shall we say. So that would be a friendly amendment, perhaps, to the proposal to just add automatic translators into the list of technologies that students should use if they are not approved.
I'd ask Professor Catherine Scheel, the chair of the Senate Committee on Educational Policy, to comment if she has any on Sarah's request.
Great, thanks, Sarah. That sounds fine to me. I don't have any problem with adding that. I think we all realize this whole chat GPT and AI is evolving as we speak. So I appreciate the addition of that.
Very good. Thank you, Catherine. Any other discussion on any of the policies? Does not appear to be any, so Amber, please go ahead and initiate the poll.
Few more seconds if you wish to vote. There being 73 ayes, 1 nay, and 7 abstentions, that motion carries.
Thank you, Amber. Item number 7 concerns a letter from the Academic Freedom and Tenure Committee to Provost Croson and has been presented for information. Item 10 concerns old business. There is no old business for the Faculty Senate. Item 11 concerns new business for the Faculty Senate. Please note that any new business will be referred to committee unless special permission is granted by 2/3 of those voting and present. Is there any new business? Hearing none, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second? Second from Peter. Thank you. We'll go ahead and do the poll, please, Amber.
There being 81 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 abstention, that motion carries.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. See you next time.
There we go.